Good afternoon, everyone. Assalamu alaikum for Arabic speakers. I'm very happy to be here today. I remember the announcement that education was going to be part, like a big pillar of COP28 was last year during COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. So it's very exciting to be here again at rewirEd. We were there last year, of course, at Expo 2020, and we're so excited to be part of the second edition and to co-moderating and co-hosting a session with our partners, Global Scouts. We have had here Ahmed Alhendawi. So you want to say a few words before we start?
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. I can stand next to you. And since you will be our moderator for today, I just want to welcome everyone and thank you for joining us. I think this discussion today has been building up nicely from the opening when we heard Professor Jeffrey Sachs talking about the title even of this session and trying to have a more principled way and more ethical way to approaching education about what really education today means in the world. We have seen that in a number of sessions when we were talking about a changing, how slow is changing formal education and trying to allow a formal education system to catch up with the skills, knowledge, values, and attitudes that are needed for young people in a changing world, as the slogan says. And where we're coming in this partnership with SAP and with the Scouts, we are emphasizing the value of non-formal education and learning. Just a couple of days ago, we had in Paris a big meeting for all the educationalists across the Scout movement, and we invited the director from OECD. And I thought the best word I heard about education came from his mouth when he said the problem with education is education. We should stop talking about education and start talking about learning. We need to focus about a learning-centered approach where focusing about how young people consume knowledge, how they access information. And that's what I said earlier, that sometimes young people today are learning in spite of formal education, not because of it, which means in a way that the formal education system are kind of isolated from many of the needs. We heard as well that it takes for changing a curriculum in a country like the UK up to 7 to 8 years just to change that curriculum. And can you think of how many topics that are so pressing in the world today just emerged in the last 7 to 8 years? And when we will be able to allow topics like AI and other emerging topics to really catch up with the formal education system. So I think these are some of the issues we're dealing with. I think this whole partnership in part is about finding the shortcuts and how we can plug into a very rigid, slow moving formal education system these skills and attitudes that are very much needed for today's world. So that's why I'm very excited about this collaboration, very excited about having today's session. I think it fits nicely as well in the flow of this agenda and of the program of the day. And to that, thank you so much for the moderation.
Thank you, Ahmed. Great. So usually, like if you look at our dear panelists, right, they come from a very different background, right? And usually they wouldn't be in one hall discussing education and partnership. So that's why it's very exciting to get government, to get NGOs, private sector, academia, all together to discuss how we can really team up to make sure that youth and like young people get the right knowledge, the right skills for a responsible future as well. Let's call it responsible future. So how can we collaborate and to contribute to the much needed transformation in education? So with us today, we've got Princess Sama Bint Faisal Al Saud. Her Highness, thank you so much for being with us today. She's a board member of the World Scout Foundation. We've got Dr. Karina Edmond, SVP, Global Head of SAP Academies and University Alliances. We've got Kuljit Gataura, President of Middle East, Turkey, Africa at Boeing. And Sara Dalal, Country Director at Academies UAE. And we're expecting one more speaker. He's on his way, President of Dubai University, Dr. Isa Al-Bastaki. Great. So just to get moving, because we don't have a lot of time, so maybe we'll give 3 minutes to each of the panelists to tell us more into their work about partnerships, how it worked for you when it comes to responsible education, right? And how it could affect the policies and systems. So maybe we can start with Her Highness, please.
Okay. Is the mic working? Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're so close, so I don't think I need the microphone. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. As Wissam mentioned, I am a board member of the World Scout Foundation, and basically and also working with the institutional fundraising committee within the foundation. And what we focus on is promoting the Scout movement, obviously with the help of Ahmed and the team, on finding partners that are like-minded and partners that want to make a difference. And as you all know, the Scout movement is a global movement with 57 million Scouts around the world, and these youth are involved in about over 16 million projects and 2.8 billion hours globally. And this is all being done through non-formal education, and it has to do with everything within the SDGs. And for us, lucky for us, we're promoting Scouts, so it just makes it easier on us because we have the backbone, we have the youth behind us, and it just makes it easier for us to find like-minded partners that want to be a part of this. Basically, most of our work is through NGOs, governments, and also private sectors, and the NSOs, which are the head of the Scouts associations. And each one has a really strong connection with the Scouts, because I think Scouting, I always say Scouting is they say manpower, I say Scout power. They're the source, they're the ones that are going to get you into these communities, and they're always hands-on, they always work on actions and finding solutions. And what we try to do is get all of these entities hand in hand to make this happen, especially if we're talking about climate change and environmental issues. We try our best through the programs for us, with the collaborations with the different entities, for us to be a part of this change.
Thank you, Your Highness. So if we go to the private sector and see what Boeing is doing in terms of collaboration with various partners to make sure that youth have the right skills.
Yeah, no, thank you. And look, it's really great to be here today with all of you. I think this is a really important topic, and I think it's terrific that here in the UAE, just like we did in Sharm last time, that we have set aside the right amount of time. So, looking at it from a private sector perspective, there is just an enormous competition, and there will be an enormous competition for global talent. So if you look at a company like Boeing, we're already present in 65 countries outside around the world. We have around 25,000 employees deployed globally, and we like to think ourselves as a global company as well as a local company. And one of the advantages of that is that you get to reach just this great population of talent. And if you look at all the demographics in this part of the world, in the Middle East, this is a very young population. If you go to Africa, it's an even younger population. And what we find is that what's changed about education is around, when people at my generation were growing up, it was about how you acquired knowledge. Everything was about the acquisition of knowledge. If you were a family that was lucky enough to have parents who could afford, like, the Encyclopedia Britannica, you had an advantage day one without any problem. Now, with the internet and other sources, it's less about the acquisition of knowledge. It's more about defining and understanding whether that knowledge is correct. There's this whole issue now around, alternative facts and what are real facts. And that's a real challenge for the young people today. I think that the other huge challenge is around how young people can be effective in a workplace. And so we spend a lot of time on STEM programs, because we believe that STEM is absolutely crucial, certainly to the growth and innovation in our industry, but to be honest, in any industry, if you look at the jobs of the future. So we invest in STEM, but we also, when we look at our employability programs, invest heavily in the soft skills, because actually, again, if it's less about the acquisition of knowledge and about how you impart that knowledge and how you make that knowledge effective. People have got to understand how to impart that in a way that's understandable, so that they can actually get to a position where you can actually do something good and act on that knowledge. And that's why I think organizations like the Scouts are so good, because in reality, that's what they're doing. I mean, they are teaching, there is a huge leadership component in Scouting. And I think that we want young people to be equipped with those skills. And of course, the other aspect of what we do, which I think is very important, is we specifically look at underrepresented communities, whether that's minorities, whether that's women. Certainly in our industry, there's an underrepresentation of women in leadership positions. There's an underrepresentation in the engineering side, and we are overcompensating for that. And whilst we're still on a path, I think that we'll start to see the fruits of what we've done, and that what we're starting to do now in the future, by just bringing through great women, female engineers into the workplace, and really ensuring that all the various gender pledges and similar types of arrangements that we've committed to actually come to fruition.
Thank you, Kuljat. And it's definitely like the soft skills as important as the technical and digital skills. And you mentioned about diversity and inclusion, which is also a big thing at SAP. And I'd like Karina to shed some light on how important it is to do those partnerships and keeping a diversity and inclusion lens to everything we do.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. It's a real pleasure to be here. I like to just build on what Kadi mentioned, because I'm actually an engineer, female, and so I've lived that experience of being one in the room, always the single female underrepresented. And it's a personal passion of mine to really increase the number of women in STEM as well. But as you mentioned, the soft skills are also, especially post-pandemic, are highly needed and desirable. And we've sort of moving to be a skills-based society. The skills are the new currency. And I'm glad that you mentioned generative AI. Because, that's a topic that's just really come to the forefront of our society in the last, 6 months, if that. And to think that we would have to wait 8 years for something like this to be integrated into the curriculum, right? It's almost criminal. So one of the things that we do at SAP, I focus on I lead Academies and University Alliances, so we work with many universities to teach students SAP skills. We have some estimates that in the next 3 years, the SAP ecosystem will create about 500,000 jobs. And so we're gearing up to really try to provide students learning opportunities and meeting students where they are. So, for instance, of course, formal education is great, but not everybody has the opportunity or can even afford going to college. So we are now also using online platforms like Coursera to have some of our curriculum there. We're providing underserved communities with certification opportunities because once they pick up these SAP skills, not only are they attractive for us, but they're attractive to our entire ecosystem. It's a global company, so we have need everywhere and anywhere. We also have some great youth programs. We provide SNAP, which is a block coding program for younger students to learn, and it's actually the curriculum that's used in the US for CS education. And so really starting as young students, picking up these coding skills, and then again, just supporting students and meeting students wherever they are. We like to think we're creating, lifelong learners because education doesn't stop at any age, right? We are all continuing to learn and grow. And one of the things that we do through our curriculum as well is build work to build critical thinking skills for these students, because that's really where we need to be, especially in the face of AI, that these students need to learn to learn. The technology is changing all the time, and what you need are the tools to learn. And so it's a pleasure to be here today, and hopefully we can engage with you all on questions.
Thank you, Karina. So unfortunately, Dr. Isa was a little bit late, so Dr. Washika is stepping in. And we just announced 2 days ago a great announcement, which is a collaboration between University Alliances, SB, and University of Dubai. So how would really academia play an instrumental role in making sure that students would have the right skills in collaboration with partners, whether it's government or the private sector or NGOs?
All right. Thank you very much. Fantastic. Thank you, Wissam. Thank you. Dr. Isa's on his way. He's stuck in the parking here. So hopefully he will step on in any minute. Sorry for that. And he sends his greetings and apologies. Coming back to your question, Wissam, I think education is playing a key role. It's all about education. But I think the landscape of education has changed tremendously, like everything else in life as well. But for us as educators, we are at the edge where major transformations happened. For example, digitalization of education is one component of it. Working with the industry together. We are quite blessed at the University of Dubai as the educational arm of Dubai Chambers to have the privilege to work with industry partners, and very grateful for SAP to sign the agreement with us so we can bring the SAP solutions to our classrooms, to our learners, because it's all about lifelong learning, as you were correctly saying. It's about upskilling, reskilling, and education is not bound anymore to specific age or to specific program. It's really all about continuous learning, making sure that you're part of the conversation, because the moment you lose the connection and you are not able then to hold a conversation, I think this is a dark moment for everybody, and in particular for us as educators. So we are making sure, in collaboration with the government, in collaboration with local and international organizations, to ensure that our students are able to be part of that conversation going on.
Thank you, Dr. Washika. And another interesting partnerships that you announced with between Boeing and Academies about STEM and in different countries. So if you can shed the light, Ms. Dalal, on this project. Thank you.
Sure. Academies is an American non-governmental organization, and we have offices across the region. We're very proud of the partnership that we actually have with Boeing. We actually focus on STEM for sustainability. Originally, our partnership started with STEM, and then it actually grew into STEM in sustainability specifically. And the focus was not only on students, it was actually on different layers of the community. So we actually work with the students, with the teachers, with the decision makers, and also at the same time with the parents as well. Because if you really want to, to raise awareness and to do any change in the community, we also need to make sure that we're reaching all layers of the community as well. In UAE, for example, the STEM for Sustainability program actually has different components, such as STEM Major Exploration Fair, where we have different experts and different universities actually join hands in order to raise awareness and give the opportunity for students to learn more and to choose more in order to know what to do as well in their future. Another component would be, for example, the STEM Club, where students actually use design thinking and they get hands-on experience in exploring different STEM and sustainability topics with expert trainers as well, and subject matter experts as well, and field trips also, so that they don't actually get the information just in order to read it and that's it, but actually get to experience it as well, and at the end work with their parents as the final step of the program also. For us, the partnerships that we actually build with Boeing and with the private sector as well, we also build it with other entities as well. For example, the STEM for Sustainability in Morocco, that is in partnership with Boeing as well. We worked with the Ministry of Youth also in order to make sure that we're reaching the right right audience as well. So where we have different programs in Egypt, in Jordan, in Kuwait, and in Morocco, and in UAE, and hopefully will be growing as well, it is always the most impactful part is to see how the students are using the actual concepts and topics they are learning about to build their own design projects and to come up with their own ideas that actually is very impressive as well, and that actually tackle actual environmental problems that they are facing in each of these communities also.
Yeah, and Wissam, just very quickly, because I do want to just add on to that, because look, this is where the collaboration and the partnership is so important. So, you know, if you go back over a year, you know, obviously we were coming into COP27 in Sharm el Sheikh, and you know, we wanted to design a program around STEM and sustainability, and we needed to come up with this in pretty short order. And we talked to a number of our partners, and it was just very interesting because, you know, sometimes a partner will have a particular project and that's what they can provide, and that's fine. But I think it's great when a partner can be flexible and can tailor something. Mm-hmm. And we were able to tailor it. And one of the things that we learned along the way was that we were actually pitching it in terms of assumption of knowledge very high. You know, and it's a sort of thing that you forget, right? I mean, we take a lot for granted around this topic, but when we looked at it and we discussed it with the Academies team, we realised that no, we've actually got to get down to basics. What does this really mean? And so, just echoing what Sarah said, I mean, we really did take it from the bottom up, you know, around sustainability in people's real lives. To you know, even concepts of, you know, sustainable aviation, you know, that's it operated at many different levels, but it was terrific. And the fact is that we've got physical infrastructure. Mm-hmm. You know, we've got a STEM center in Cairo, which honestly is just terrific, because this is a place where the children can come and collaborate, and you can actually see that in action. Mm-hmm. And we've got the same here in Dubai as well. So. Yeah, just a great partnership.
Thank you, Kadi. So we've heard about two examples of successful partnerships: private sector, academia, private sector, NGOs. But I'd go to Princess Sama again. Like, what would make a partnership sustainable? Talking about COP28, and it's all about sustainability. How could this not be a one-off thing?
To be honest, with our partnerships with different entities, the beauty of it is it's all in the hands of the youth. So we're successful and sustainable if the youth implement it. And that's what we try to do in our partnerships, is try to listen to the youth. We're here for them. And this is, I think, if Ahmed agrees with me, this is how we do it, and this is how we make sure that there's sustainability. Because when I always say the scouts are action doers, and our partners, when they see the action actually happening, they want to do even more and more, and that's the beauty of our partnerships with different entities.
Thank you. So we've heard a lot about AI, some positive, some negative, right? Some people think it's a magical tool will solve everything, all the SDGs. Some think it's an existential threat to humanity, right? So I'd like to ask Karina, how can we collaborate to safeguard that really AI is used by youth in a responsible way inside and outside of the classroom?
Sure. Thank you, Wissam, for that question. You know, as with any new technology, I just think there's so much potential, and it's really the way that it's implemented. I don't think it's something that we can run from. It's here. So I think it's best that we all come together and find ways to have it serve us as best as possible. Some of the areas that excite me actually about generative AI is the ability that we can teach students at their level and really tailor the curriculum, so we could pretty much teach the same topic but through different stories, right? The interactive ability for storytelling for students also. But at the heart of it is also that we have to teach differently, that students do have to pick up critical thinking skills, because there's also a lot of opportunity, right, for things to go the wrong way you know, sort of a garbage in, garbage out, right? And some of the things that worry me about AI is some of the inherent biases that are built into it. A lot of the data that's being used early on, not early on, a few years ago, I had an opportunity to work in this space, and I was shocked to see that not only, you know, we know that data is biased, right? A lot of the bias can be collected from a homogeneous group, and then applied to other people who maybe haven't been at the table, or data is not collected. But besides the data being biased, that there's algorithms that can really amplify these biases even further. And to me, that's also a very scary part. So I think the work that we're doing to bring more people into STEM is so important, because yes, every company is now a technology company. Everybody needs technical skills along with those soft skills. So really, I see a lot of opportunity. I'm sort of an optimist, but again, I see a lot of opportunities in tailoring the curriculum for interest. You know, and again, AI can be applied in every field, right? For sustainability, social justice, in so many areas. But I think at the heart of it is that we continue to provide learners with critical thinking skills so that they can assess how decisions are being made by computers, because that's, to me, the most scary part, that we want to work together. I like the idea of human in the loop. For, you know, we always want to have a human in the loop on this topic.
Thank you, Karina. And shifting gears to academia and teaching AI, how would that also manifest by enabling students to use it in a rightful way?
Thank you, Wissam, for this great question. I mean, when ChatGPT came up a year ago, roughly a year ago, you could see the excitement in the eyes of students, because they thought now, you know, it's outsourced. They don't need to do anything. But very quickly they realized it's a great tool. I agree. It's a fantastic, you know, it's a system in place, a tool which can be used, but it doesn't replace the human brain, the human creativity, reflection, critical thinking, analysis. So what we did at the University of Dubai, we really looked at the ways of how we assess students, because assessing learners by you know, traditional assessments wouldn't help anymore. So what we are doing now is more about reflecting, so problem solving. Tell us, use ChatGPT or whatever you would like to use. Obviously, we can't stop them and ban it from our classrooms. Use it, but tell us, what did you learn? How would you interpret it? What would be your decisions based on the data, based on the information provided to you by generative AI? So I believe we can't really live and teach and build curricula and develop youth for the future, present and future challenges by ignoring technology. But I think it is absolutely essential, as Karina was saying, to have the human aspects, the human embedded in that process as well. This is something what we really do in our classrooms, outside of the classrooms, the ways of how we engage with our learners as well, because as someone here was saying correctly, listening is important as well. I mean, the ways of how I would tackle a problem might be very, very different from somebody who's 20, 25, 30 years younger than me. So listening, engaging in conversations, and trying to find solutions to existing problems together. So collaboration in our classrooms, regardless in which program, could be an undergraduate or graduate program or a PhD class, is important to us.
Thank you, Dr. Rashika. So we'd like to give a chance for some questions, but before we do that, I'll give everyone from our dear speakers 1 minute, just like your final thoughts on responsible education and, let's say, great partnerships models. We'll start with Your Highness, please.
Always start funny,
Yes.
huh? So basically, first of all, I want to thank everyone that's here. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to come and speak. Look, to be honest, I'm a pro scout. So whatever you ask me, I'm just going to tell you scouts are scouts. There's a lot of successful partnerships that happened. And for me, the beauty of what I do is when I see the passion and will, and I see the impact not only on the communities but also on our partners, and the change and them wanting to do more. And we're not talking about big partner. We're talking about partnering up or collaborations per projects, per programs, and that's how flexible scouting is. We try to make sure for us to succeed in what we're doing, and I think if anyone also goes, if we're talking about environment, if you go and check sdgs.scout.org and see the beautiful projects that have been done by the youth, and what are they covered a lot of the goals, plus the impact on the communities. I think that's really important, and we're not talking about big companies, we're talking about local companies and private sectors and NGOs within the communities, and that's the beauty of scouting and how flexible it is, and I believe that's what's making scouting sustainable and being alive for about more than 100 years. It's because of them, and it's because of the partners that believe in the cause and believe in the scouts.
Thank you. Guljat.
Yeah, sure. Look, I mean, I did try the Scouts, but I just couldn't do those knots. I mean, after the really simple knot, the simple
We can
knot,
give
it
you
was
a
very
lesson
difficult.
if you want.
No, my dad was really ashamed of me. I'm sorry, but look, I think that what I believe is that we make a big investment in STEM education, but I think we need to also address this. There is an issue of unemployment in this region. And so how do you join the dots? I mean, you've given people, a start. You're helping them understand the opportunity, now that, quite frankly, education, the acquisition of education is in some way democratized with access to information, they can do it. But where can you get the meaningful jobs? So what we've really started to do more of now is to work with our stakeholders, our customers, on our employability program. So, for example, we did one in Jordan, involved the Ministry of Youth. We involved the Royal Jordanian, and it was great because there were real internships, both at RJ plus at the airport, and at least you were looking at a pathway. And the other thing that I should mention is the entrepreneurship angle, because so much innovation is going to be driven through the startups. Mm-hmm. And so, again, there is no monopoly of any country or any people on coming up with just brilliant ideas. And so, again, with partners that we've worked with, we've got these great entrepreneurship programs, really get people coming up with terrific ideas, and in some cases, them having direct applicability into aerospace.
Thank you. And Sarah.
Well, I think what makes great partnerships are also that both, stakeholders or both partners be agile and flexible and always keep the communication going in order to also work as the community actually changes, because we are in an ever, the community is changing every minute, especially with new technologies, with new things that are being also implemented in different countries as well. And for example, in partnerships that we have, like for example, the one we have with Boeing, it's great that we are looking at the long-term basically vision and impact, and not only on the short-term one, and working always to assess what worked, what did not work, and to learn from that and to build on it, and to actually take into consideration what the stakeholders like the youth and the community are also coming back with on their points of views also being taken into consideration as we design new programs and new partnerships as well, and to connecting the different parts of the community again, because what we do is that we don't only work, for example, we work with schools, we work with universities, we work with governmental sector as well, in addition to our partnerships with the private sector, such as the one we have with Boeing, in order to bring all of that into one space where it can complement what is already there rather than just repeating what is already there as well.
Thank you, Sarah. Dr. Karina.
That's great. Thank you. Well, I think they have great points on, what it takes to have a good partnership. I think some of the things, the takeaway for me today is, as we've heard, that education is no longer a discrete time. It is now a lifelong journey, and that, we need to support our youth. And, there's a reason why we're here, COP28. The topic of sustainability is something that really draws in this next generation. I am always inspired because I know when I was coming out of college, I was just trying to pay my rent. But this next generation really wants to save the world, and it's really inspirational. And I'm really proud to be at SAP because we're giving students the tools to be able to, one, hold employers accountable, hold leaders accountable for the sustainability goals, being able to track and measure, and ultimately reduce our carbon footprint. So really just bringing that back, because like I said, I think it's a topic, and I love this, that you now have some sustainability as a target. And so.
Thank you. And the pressure on academia, Dr. Washika.
All right. I mean, for us, as an educational institutions, partnerships are important. But what I would like to emphasize here is we are working with global partners because we really truly need the global perspective to bring it in our educational experiences and so on. But at the same time, I believe it is essential to work with local partners as well, because we are in a very unique environment, as you were correctly saying, not very much in this country, although unemployment is an issue here as well, despite the very small size of the national population. But when we look around the MENA region, there are some very unique challenges here. And we have the obligation to try to find solutions which are very critical in this part of the world. So what we are doing is University of Dubai, we work with fantastic global partners, but at the same time, we're working with local communities, local businesses as well, because, bringing the intersection between the global view and the local solutions and the ways of how solutions could work here and so on, it's essential. And in our MBA program, for example, we ask our MBA learners, pick up a problem at your organization. These are the tools, but solve it in your own unique way and tell us, how would you do it? Go back to your organization, tell them, how would you solve this specific problem? And I believe this is a quite enriching and inspiring experience for every stakeholder involved in that process.
Thank you, Dr. Washika. So it's the fun part, questions. Priority for young people. It's not discriminatory, but just like we'd like to hear young people. Young people, whatever you can think of. Right. Yeah, please.
I think I'm young. I have a question. I think somebody was mentioning platforms, I think Snap, and then another regional platform. I just wanted to see what other platforms are out there in terms of what you're leveraging on with your youth. Somebody mentioned Coursera, somebody mentioned Snap, so this is just an open conversation. I'd also be interested in learning about the higher education platforms that you're using, apart from the existing courses that you run at your university. Thank you.
So, thank you for that question. I have to start because I missed the elephant in the room for me, which is SAP Learning. We actually have a huge learning site with amazing resources that are available for free for students, for sure. We have a learning zone, and we're actually opening that up to a broader community. to come in and learn. So yeah, and as I mentioned, we have Coursera as well. There's a number of online education platforms. Snap that we work with Berkeley, and we have a website where teachers can build curriculum and students as well. So those are just a few from mine, but I did want to mention we, as a company, SAP has SAP Learning and Student Zone for students.
Yes, academia, great question. I mean, what we are doing is, because we are in a digital space, moving forward, and COVID-19 taught us some really valuable lessons. It's about really ensuring that everybody has access, despite their living situation, family responsibilities, work commitments, and so on. And once you develop this digital content and make it available to learners across the world, around the clock, at any gadget, at any point of time, I think this is quite helpful. And what we're doing with partners like the Abdullah Al Ghurair Foundation is building this very high quality online experience. So it's about having, online learners engaged in the program, because if you would run a Zoom call for 3 hours, I think after 3 minutes, most of your audience disappears or falls asleep. So it's really important to find to invest, because you have to invest in high quality educational content, find the right partners, and every institution is different. For us, we handpicked a number of partners because we believe we share some common values, some common goals. It's about creating this platform. In addition, we're using Coursera, is embedded in our curriculum. Hopefully very soon, SAP solutions will be embedded in our curriculum. And we're like what we did, for example, with Denver University, we have a partnership using a platform, shared platform, where our learners can study some parts of the program with us and some other parts with Denver University. It just provides this global perspective I was talking about, at the same time being quite locally rooted.
Thank you. So we can take one quick question. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll answer the first part of that and then over to Sarah for the next. I mean, look, honestly, we want to work with people that are experts at implementing. Now, what tends to happen is that when you work with NGOs, and we work with not many, because again, we want to sort of drive the consistency in the relationship, because look, a lot of this is around the less you have to explain to people what you really want to achieve, the easier it is to execute on these plans. And look, we're all trying to get these things done, implemented quickly and get the benefit quickly. But look, it's as simple as, because when the relationship is that well-founded, it really is as simple as going and just having a very open conversation around, look, this is what we really want to try and achieve. How can you help us? And then it's really over to the NGO to come up with the design. So on that one, we actually approached 4 NGOs with the same question, and we said, look, we haven't got a lot of time, we need a proposal in a week. And no pressure. And honestly, we looked at the proposals, and the one that was the one that we went for ultimately was the one that was as close to our vision of the program as we could find it, and so that's why we selected Ahmed. So that's how it went from our perspective. I'm looking at Rula here because she's looking at me thinking, yeah, Kulja, you don't know anything about this. I'm working like, you're just going and having one conversation. I'm doing all of the work, and I know that's the case. So thank you.